the St. Lucia Labour Party has secured a majority of legislative seats, with at least 9 out of 17 seats won, paving the way for Prime Minister Philip Pierre's re-election. The party leader has expressed confidence in maintaining their mandate, citing strong voter turnout and support for the government's agenda. This morning, we're very pleased to have online with us for this segment senior editor at the St. Lucia Times, Terry Finisterre. I hope I got the pronunciation correct, Terry. Good morning. How are you doing today?
Spot on, my brother. Good morning. I'm well, a little bit tired, as you can imagine, but in good shape and good spirit.
All right. So you put in some extra hours, I suspect, in providing coverage of the elections. How challenging was it? And, what was it like out there?
Well, it was good. I mean, it was fun. I was able to visit throughout the course of the day most of the northern constituencies. I spoke with polling officers, with returning officers from the electoral department, with several of the candidates, with a number of supporters. So it was a good day. And then, of course, in the evening, as the count started, I went over to the Prime Minister's headquarters and was in his constituency for some time when the celebrations got underway. And then unfortunately, I actually got stuck in the city when all of the candidates and their entourages from the neighboring constituencies started coming in. So it was a bit of a carnival atmosphere in St. Lucia last night in the center of Castries. Jeremy Street was absolutely red. All of the candidates from the Castries area and the north of the island were present. All of the new or returning MPs were on hand and in a very celebratory mood.
Fantastic. Now, Terry, what would you say are the key factors contributing to the Labour Party's victory in St. Lucia?
I think in 4.5 years, they've been able to really leave an imprint as far as infrastructure, as far as social transformation, some of the policies that they would have implemented over the last 4.5 years, the first term under Philip J. Pierre, the first Prime Minister to return to office at the first time of asking since 2001, when Kenny Anthony would have won 1997 and 2001. Since then, we've changed Prime Minister at every single election. And it's the first time since then that we've had a repeat Prime Minister. The first time, he's just the third Prime Minister to get a second consecutive term in St. Lucia after Kenny Anthony and John Compton. But I think the work done over the last 4.5 years in terms of, as I said, infrastructure and social transformation has been well received by the people. At the same time, though, I think that this election is also somewhat a repudiation of the leadership of the United Workers' Party. If you look across the board, not only did the SLP gain ground in a number of UWP strongholds and gain ground in some of the boxes and some of the seats where they are not traditionally very strong, the UWP support was also not there. The number of votes that they got in some of those seats was far lower than has been the case over the last 2 or 3 cycles. So it says something about the sentiment towards the opposition as well as it does about the work being done or the quality of the party that retains the majority.
We know leading up to general elections, especially in our region, lots and lots of promises are made by various parties. Can you provide some more information on the Labour Party's campaign promises that they used leading up to the election?
Well, the manifesto was actually a fairly light document, and I think that was by design. They put out, right after announcing the date for elections, they put out a document which they called the book of achievements. So they looked back over the last term on some of the things that they have done, and talked about being able to push some of those forward, being able to expand some of that work. You look at the work they've done, for instance, with the Youth Economy Agency, the MSME Loan Grant Facility, and where that has positioned the growth of small businesses in St. Lucia, the ability of small businesses not only to survive but thrive. You look at the work that they've done with the St. Lucia Professional Football League, some of the infrastructural work as far as the West Coast Highway, which had been a very vexing project, which started its life back under Kenny Anthony, went through Alan Chasney, and finally started showing some signs of actually being completed under Philip J. Pierre. The works in places like Cul-de-sac. You have ongoing road works in Grosley. So there's been quite a bit of work done, and I think the promise really is to continue and to build on that work.
All right. So the matter of continuity is very, very prominent. Now, I see where Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness here in Jamaica put out a post saying congratulations to Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre on your re-election and to the people of St. Lucia on the successful general election. He said, Jamaica remains committed to strengthening our partnership as we work together on our shared regional priorities. I look forward to continued collaboration and deeper cooperation within CARICOM. I want to ask you this morning, Terry, how do you think Prime Minister Philip Pierre's re-election will affect or even impact relationships within CARICOM and CARICOM nations?
I think Prime Minister Pierre, first and foremost, is a very staunch regionalist. He would have taken St. Lucia to the Caribbean Court of Justice as our quarter-final appeal, discarding the Privy Council. He has been, of course, very much at the forefront of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, one of the leading voices there. I think he has good relationships with a number of prime ministers across the region, and not just prime ministers. I think he has good relationships with our sister nations across the region. So I believe that he is in a good place to be able to foster that kind of spirit, to foster that kind of unity across the Caribbean, and I think that he's going to be a good partner for the people of Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean.
All right, and what are the reactions that you're picking up coming from the opposition party and other stakeholders to the election results?
It's been very muted, as you'd expect with such a resounding victory. From 7 o'clock last evening when votes began counting, you could see the kind of withdrawal of the United Workers' Party. I trust that they will put out a statement at some time today. I would hope to hear from Mr. Chasney at some point to speak to, why he thinks this was the voice of St. Lucia, why he thinks St. Lucia would have, St. Lucians as a whole would have, voted overwhelmingly in favor of the policies and the people who make up the St. Lucia Labour Party. But it has been very muted. It's been really a red wave. Yesterday, last evening, the streets of Castries, the streets of Vieux-Fort, the streets of Soufrière, Grosley, they were all about the St. Lucia Labour Party. But as the Prime Minister said last night in his speech at the Market Steps, the traditional home of the St. Lucia Labour Party, as of today, Tuesday, we are once again all St. Lucians, and the party now forms the government. Swearing in should be on Friday, he anticipated. And at this point, it is all about getting back to work and getting back to working towards a better St. Lucia.
Mm-hmm. It is customary in our region when on the night of the elections that the leader of the winning party will give a statement, and usually very often publicly the losing party leader would at least concede. Did that happen at all, or have you not yet heard from the opposition leader?
As far as I know, we are yet to hear from Mr. Chasney. Mr. Chasney, of course, was the only person to retain his seat of we went into the election at 15-2. Mm-hmm. Bradley Felix and Alan Chasney were the only two United Workers' Party members in the House of Assembly. We came out 16-1. Mr. Felix lost, and Mr. Chasney was the only person to retain his seat. Mm-hmm. He has not yet released a statement as far as I know. Mr. Felix did release something on his Facebook page conceding defeat and wishing his supporters and the people of Choiseul Saltibus all the best going forward. But we have yet to hear officially from the United Workers' Party as a whole.
As we get close to wrapping, what would you identify as some of the key challenges that might be facing the Labour Party in this new term?
Well, I mean, the challenges, I think, are common across much of the Caribbean. And as I said earlier, I think the Prime Minister being somebody who believes in collaboration. I think these are challenges that we will continue to grapple with as a region and in collaboration with one another. You look at, obviously, the rising crime, the rising prevalence of gang culture across the Caribbean. That's something that has affected St. Lucia very badly over the last maybe 10, 15 years. We've seen the rise in violence and the rise in homicide in particular. You look at, obviously, the cost of living. Some of these things, not necessarily things that we can grapple with entirely on our own or that are entirely within our control. The cost of living, you have wars in Ukraine, you have a war in the Middle East, the rising cost of oil, of fuel. So those are some of the issues that I think are top of mind, cost of living, top of mind for the ordinary St. Lucian. And those are things that the Prime Minister will have to find ways of working with and find ways of getting St. Lucians on the right page and getting St. Lucia on the right path as we go forward.
All right. What was the voter turnout like? Because we have been having a problem in Jamaica with low voter turnout. Did you have big numbers in terms of turnout of voters?
I haven't seen the final tally. In fact, up to close to midnight, there were a handful of boxes still being tallied up to close to midnight. So I haven't seen the final tally. But throughout the day, as I went, especially to places like Babono, Castries South, and Castries Central, the turnout appeared to be good. The voters list, as I think is often the case, does not necessarily reflect all St. Lucians resident in St. Lucia. So you might have people who may have passed on, who may have emigrated, but who remain on the voters list. So when we look at a voters list that says 120,000 or so, you're probably in reality looking at about 100,000. I think throughout the course of the day, the sentiment that I heard from the returning officers in particular was that the voter turnout looked good, but we await the final numbers to see whether that is indeed reflected in the final outcome.
Okay. Terry, I want to thank you for joining us this morning in this discussion segment. We truly appreciate your time and your thoughts and, in fact, the clarity that you brought to the conversation. Thanks, Terry, and we look forward to talking with you again sometime in the future. Have a great day.
You too, sir.
And try to get some rest if you can.
I have to go deal with my kids now.
All right. Take care. Have a good day. Best wishes.